Oh, hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. Let me ask you a couple questions. Have you ever felt that you were always responding to texts, emails, and DMs at all hours, and your anxiety is raising as you do that, even probably to the point that you're just exhausting yourself and trying to keep up? Or perhaps you're just always taking on tasks that other people can handle, but only because it feels better that you do it yourself. Well, we're going to talk about it today. I'm Naomi Tucker. I'm an event coach and a strategist. And over the course of my 30 years in event planning, I've come across many situations where I myself didn't have proper boundaries, and it literally just almost broke me until I found out a better way. And then some recent discussions and conversations with event planners, I've been hearing a lot more about situations where it can be tough to have sound boundaries, right? Um, and I felt as if those discussions were very helpful for them. So I wanted to then bring it here and see if it was helpful for you too. So we're going to talk about it here in the next few minutes about how you can use your boundaries in your work and how you can ensure that they also support your event career and maybe even boost your event career. So, Planners on Purpose is all about the intentional steps we take in our lives so that we can live a little brighter, have a little bit more freedom, and do the things we love. But the challenges right now, many people are struggling in the industry. Business is there, it's great. We're having a huge challenge with just people to get the work done. And it often can feel like we're just doing the work of several people. I'm pretty sure you can feel me. If you can, definitely add a comment and let me know how it is for you right now. Are you feeling like you are just struggling with keeping up, that you're not able to stay on top of some of the tasks that you have? And tell me how you're feeling. Maybe you're exhausted. Because most of this does produce a big time emotional drain. And that is what I've been hearing, especially every time I get on the phone with a lot of event professionals. They're just, it's like they have to take a deep breath in and then just exhale because of what that last call perhaps brought to them. And we just need some time to be able to really find out how to make most of our uh, what's happening on our desk work. So basically, this emotional drain is because we have a lot of demands that aren't easily met. And so often we find ourselves not resetting expectations. Maybe instead of resetting expectations, we're just going with it, and we're going ahead and going with that unreasonable ask that we're getting and just trying to make it work. And many times it can exasperate us. So that's what I want to talk about today. But if you're here, definitely let me know. Give me a comment in the chat. I'll make sure to address any questions that you have here. But we're going to go through some of the professional boundaries that you can use in order to boost your career, and that can help set you up for career growth. And that's what we're going to be talking about. It's been a while since I've been live, so it's been great to get back on YouTube and get here and be live. So it's great to see many of you that will be coming across this video. So hello in the future to those of you that are catching this not live, but on a replay, and thankful for those that are here. So we'll talk about just different elements of boundaries in this time that we have. We'll talk about some professional boundaries, some mental and emotional boundaries that we tend to need to create in our work. And then we'll talk about some operational boundaries, because there's things that we need to probably put in place, a little bit more structure that we would need to put in place in our work in order for us to be more efficient. We want to all work more efficiently, right? And even though we see that we have some of these AI tools coming in, sometimes if not structured correctly within our work and integrated correctly within our work, it ends up being an additional task, and it can end up feeling heavier when it's supposed to feel lighter. So we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll talk about some more personal things like some relational boundaries. Many event professionals talk about some of those relational boundaries, especially with some of the clients that we're working with. Making sure some of those personal boundaries are respected as well. And then we'll finish up with just managing some of our personal energy. So several things that we want to go over, and definitely if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But one thing I wanted to say is that in a recent talk that I had at IMEX, it's one of the biggest meeting and event exhibitions for the event industry in North America. It's usually held in Las Vegas. It was a great time that I went there. I ended up giving a presentation, and it did highlight boundaries. And one thing that resonated with many of the people that were there was that all it takes is for you to make just a subtle shift in your work, in your lifestyle, for you to start to see some of those, I guess, results from that shift. So out of this conversation today, if only you pick one thing to create boundaries on it and then move forward with it, you can definitely see a shift that will get bigger as time goes on. So I definitely recommend you, if any of this resonates, if just one thing resonates with you today, then, then I would say my work is done. Just write down what that is and go for it and implement it and take some action with it. And over time, you will see that you're glad that you did. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's talk about professional boundaries that we need to set up in our work. One of the things that I talk about a lot, and it seems as though still a lot of people are still grasping on to this opportunity that they have in setting availability boundaries. So that just means to clearly communicate when your working hours are and your response times are. And this is so key, because if you do not communicate when you're working and when you are responding to people, then people tend to make assumptions that you're always going to be available to them. So it's really key to be clear about when you are available and when you're not. And in a way that you can do this that's very subtle, that's just very non-intrusive, is just putting those things in your calendar, especially for some of your internal teams that you work with. If they have access to your calendar to schedule you for certain meetings, making sure that your calendar is updated to reflect what your working hours are. It's really easy for you to do that. Get in there, get into the settings of whatever email tool you're working with, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Gmail. Go right in and set up those working hours for you, so that when someone looks at your calendar, it just shows what is available. If you only work from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m., it will only show availability for people to schedule meetings with you from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So simple. So if you have not done that, I would just even say, go into your email while I'm talking and just set that up. Just set it up. Just put in your availability every single day. Stick with the availability that you have consistently throughout your working time. Pretty much that's going to be a pretty broad amount. And then you can tailor your availability by then adding in specific meeting block times for any work that you're completing, tasks that you're completing, and then also your meeting. So it's really great to have this, because it also affirms to you and it kind of reinforces with you what your boundaries are on your time and how much time you do have to work with in your workday. And it's also important that when you get into a situation when, let's say, a meeting might come up against that boundary that you do have, that you clearly communicate that to your team. And it could be very simple as, I'm available after 9 a.m. So any meeting after that would be perfect, right? People then know that anything before 9 a.m. is off limits, but anything after 9 a.m. is free game, right? So making sure that you're communicating that, because if you don't communicate that, then nobody really knows. And again, if no one knows, then they are going to make an assumption, right? So definitely get in there if you haven't and put in that boundary on your general working hours. Now, as we dig deeper, you might have also heard me talk about your blocking meeting time. That's also an area that you can create boundaries in your workday as well. So it could be something as simple as putting in time for when you're, checking your email at the beginning of the day, or if you want to make space for checking email periodically through your day, you want to just put in a quick 30 minutes of email catch up in there. That way, anyone that's trying to book a meeting with you knows exactly what you're doing during that time. And subsequently, for anything else, if you're taking lunch, if you're going on a walk, definitely block out your time. Maybe not say going on a walk, maybe say recoup time, or maybe say catch up time on your calendar, but definitely block off that time for you so that you have some of those spaces in your day that you're taking in just a little bit of free time to do a little something, whether it's going on a walk, even if it's just taking a few quick breaths in between meetings. So that's your availability boundaries. I just want to know, have you taken some steps to adjust your availability in your calendar, and how has that worked for you? Let me know if it's worked for you. If it hasn't worked for you, definitely put it in the comments. I would love to know how you are doing with that. All right. So another professional boundary that you can definitely do is resist saying yes to every request. I know, I know. It's really hard to say to resist saying yes. It really is. And I have a whole presentation on, how to say no, or, resist saying yes to every request. We get requests from everywhere. So I don't know about you, but not only I'm a professional, but I also have a family at home. So I am constantly managing all sorts of different requests that go on, whether it be from, my children, whether it be from my spouse, always managing things, but also in the professional environment. There are many other things that come across your desk. And if you say yes to everything, it can really pile up to where you get overwhelmed very quickly, especially if all those yeses stack up on the same day or something like that. So you want to make sure that you're making some boundaries around how you're making decisions and making sure that they all fit into the scope of what your goals are for that particular day, for that particular month, and for that particular event that you're working on. So making sure that we, once we get requests in, that we, say, give it some thought. And it's okay to say, oh, let me give this some thought to see if we can make this work. Absolutely okay to say something like that. And then after you think about it, if you cannot make it work, then make sure you're, communicating that, unfortunately, this isn't something we can do right now. Maybe we can do it in the future, or here's how we can fit it in. It might not be to the magnitude in which you want it, but it can be, like this. Those type of comments and discussion are helpful in you making some really great boundaries around the decision making that you do at your work. And it does show leadership. It shows that you're not just a task taker, right? And it shows that you actually can get that task, think it through, see if it's feasible or not, and then come up with a solution or come up with a reason why that it's not able to work or not. And if it's something that absolutely must need to be done, and let's say you do not have the time to be able to complete that, then consider other resources. Maybe there's another team member that you have that is able to do it, someone else in another department, especially if it's just a low demanding task. Maybe it's just more data entry or just something like that. Find a team member to be able to delegate it to, so that you can quickly train up on what they need to do so that they can support you in making sure that that task happens. So again, boundaries around saying yes, even if you just give it a second thought, instead of just assuming that you're going to do it, look at it. really put it through your filter, see if it can work, make a plan for that item, and then respond from there instead of just assuming that you're just going to take it. So that is another professional boundary that you definitely can use. And then the last one in professional boundaries is more around expectation management. So this is just leveraging expectation with our clients. I get so many questions around that where we have a client that has, let's say, an unreasonable expectation. And although, let's say, you've tried to meet that expectation with the client, they're still pressing for whatever type of task that they want, making sure that I guess one quick way in order to alleviate a good percentage of some of these requests is just to clarify. So I kind of call it clarify before you comply. So clarify what it is that they want you to do. And I'm trying to think of a quick example, but if it's a matter of, let's say, canceling a whole program just because, let's say, someone wanted a program in a different place that they preferred, because maybe the availability has gotten, has opened. I don't know. I'm just pulling random things from my head, but again, just even if you just communicate that back to that person and saying, okay, what I understand is this is what you would like to do. Those things can allow that person to then rethink it for themselves and go through it with you. And then I would also say, match it up against, let's say, the timeline that you currently have. Sometimes some decisions that we have to make, or just some tasks that we are given, they go against whatever, let's say, this timeline that we already have established is. And just make sure that people know, okay, well, this is how it might impact the timeline. This is how it might impact the budget. Instead of just saying, yes, we'll do it. How does it impact all of the different areas that you might come across in your, let's say, your critical path, in your full path of your meeting? And then make sure that you're communicating that. These things should be more of a dialogue. And after you do have those conversations, you begin to see that many of the time you can reduce what the ask is just by clarifying. So there's another thing for you. It's clarifying before you comply, and it really helps with leveraging, just doing that expectation management within, between yourself and your client, and yourself and your team. And you can use this for anybody, right? And that will help you reduce what you are then doing. All right. So those are some professional ones. Tell me, have you done any of these, and how has it worked for you? Have you gone in and done some availability work? You setting your availability hours? Do you resist saying yes in your decision making, and giving it some deep thought, delegating if you have to? And then do you clarify before you comply? And when you do those things, how does that end up working for you? So definitely put that in the comments. I would love to be able to hear from you. So we're talking about boundaries, and just talking about how we can use boundaries in order to boost our careers. And typically when we are taking these steps, they're more proactive steps. It's steps that really showcase that we've given things a lot of thought. And when that happens, we're able to then be positioned well for leaders that may be looking at us for any kind of promotion, or any other big opportunity that perhaps we had been wanting to have. So making sure that we're taking that step back, being intentional about what comes across our desk, being intentional about our answers. It's just really going to give us that opportunity. And really, it's like building a muscle, right? When we go out and I'm doing a lot more strength training now, that I'm kind of in a certain time of my life. When you go and you do some of those exercises, initially it can be very tough to do it, and you're feeling really, really tired and exhausted, and your muscles hurt and all those type of things. But then as you continue to do it, you build up strength. And that's what we're doing here. We're building up strength in the area of making those boundaries. And we won't build that if we don't try to do it and we don't make some conscious effort. So again, if you haven't gotten that one thing, like I said, that you can work on, then maybe there'll be some other ones that come across as we continue to talk. Um, One thing that I wanted to talk about is around mental clarity at work and some of the emotional boundaries, because this work can be tough. We put in everything, we put in so much around these meetings. We are giving so much with ensuring that our clients are having a wonderful experience. And we're excited too, right? We're super excited to make this happen for them. Um, but we can get very emotionally tied in, and especially when emotions are high, if deadlines aren't missed, or if there's been a challenge on an event, it can be emotional. And many times there's emotion going both ways. There's emotion maybe coming from your client, there's emotion that you have because you've been working so hard. It's really important that we have some type of emotional separation. So that means giving yourself emotional boundaries, right? So giving yourself boundaries, especially at work, especially when you're around a time where things are so high. You can just tell that the energy around an event, it's like, oh man, we're getting into crunch time. All those details are coming in. People are pressing and they're getting a little haughty, right? Sometimes. I mean, we're not going to lie around here. This stuff happens. So we want to make sure that we don't take the client's stress personally, because not only do we have stress, the client has their stress too. And how they deal with that is a whole different way. So definitely make it a point to take some deep breaths before phone calls and some deep breaths after, to make sure that you're maintaining this what's like calm, this calm in the chaos, right? Because there are emotions going back and forth, and you want to make sure that you are managing yours so that you can do your best work. So I know it's sometimes hard, because sometimes triggers happen. People can say things that do not make us feel good. So, but it is helpful if we can just recognize that, I understand my client's stressed right now. I understand what they're asking of me. Let me take a few deep breaths so that I can deliver what I need to deliver to them, and do it, giving them that little bit of grace that I need to, right? So, those are some things that I would say around mental, emotional boundaries, whatever you need to do in order to do that. Some clients have a different level of, I guess, emotional separation that you need to make than others, which means maybe you need to take a little bit more time. Maybe how you process that stress might be different than another client you have, right? So make sure that we are putting some emotional separation in there, and that we all have good intentions of wanting to have an excellent meeting. Definitely just take some time before you respond, and for sure, don't respond out of your anger, out of your stress. Take a moment. I almost got caught up with that one in my past. So make sure we do that. I know that for me, it happened. I typed up an email. It was a really good email out of let's say, a stressful moment. I did not send the email, but it has happened. I was close. I had to take some emotional separation there before I did that. So definitely make sure that you do. Another thing around mental health is recovery time, creating those buffer zones before and after major events. And I see a lot of event professionals doing this, and it's great. So I'm glad that people are doing it. So if you're not, I would say to do it. Before you go on an event, you take some time, especially before you're like heading in on site, take some time to just like calm yourself, get yourself in the space, and kind of recognizing to yourself what you're looking to deliver here in the next few days. And after the event too, making sure that you just put in that buffer time. If you're traveling to a country that you haven't been in, take a little bit of time just to enjoy that place before you go home, if you can. And definitely try it. I know at times when things are coming in and we have a lot on our desk, many planners are going from meeting to meeting to meeting. But if you can just press back a little bit, just to give yourself, even if it's a half a day buffer, right? Even if it's a day, give yourself a little time before jumping back in. That will just help you to just appreciate the work that you have done for an event, or will be doing for an event, and really get you in a good mindset before you go into the next thing. So tell me, have you done this? Have you done this, and how has it worked for you? Have you done this recovery time? Has it been a good thing for you to do? I just want to know. Put it in the chat. All right. So then we have some other boundaries here about communicating, making sure that we're giving ourselves the grace of communicating well. And this is just how your channels are happening. Now, I am not at your particular place of work and you're not at mine, right? But there is often a protocol around communication within a workplace. And just hopefully you're able to then adhere to whatever that protocol is. And it can be certainly a good thing, and making sure that it works for you. So I would just say streamline your communication, making sure that all of the resources that you have for your work are completed, for communicating to other people, making sure you're really communicating. Communication is just so key. And I guess one of the things I would think about is communicating, let's say, even when if you have somebody that is backing you up or coming in to helping you with your work, making sure that they know what they're doing well. If you're going to be out of the office and you have other meetings going on, communicating to people that you're going to be out, and here's the point of contact, and here's how how they would be able to get certain answers from you or from your business, as you are out of the office. It really helps to prevent some of those fires that might pop up, especially that nobody knows what to do with, and everybody's wondering, oh, what should we do with this person? This question came up, we don't know how to answer it. It helps with a lot of those things. So as much as you can adhere to really great communication, that's a boundary. It's an operational boundary, for you to make sure that you are doing your best work at communicating to others. Um, and then making sure that we're giving structured feedback. A lot of people don't think about this one, because many times if like an event gets done and things are great, we tend to just be like, okay, great, things are great, let's keep going, right? But when you do have some structured ways of feedback, whether it's going through any kind of like a debrief call, or whether it's just communicating to others, let's say some things that can work in the future, those things can help establish better boundaries within an event as you continue to work. If people know that it's important to you and it helps and supports and benefits a meeting, then they are willing to take that a little bit more seriously. So when there's opportunity for you to provide feedback, and it be constructive and it be delivered in a way that is easily accepted, that is going to be able to help you for future events. So don't hold back, again, deliver it with ease, find ways to position it, and that it is able to be taken by, let's say, that client, that team, that leader. But that's all it's going to do is just help benefit you in the future. So making sure that you're giving that appropriate feedback to others, and that you're receiving it as well. So that's a really great way of boundary around feedback. And then finally, on just technology, I love talking about this one because it's all over, right? We have so many. Our tech stack is really stacked up. We have so many tools. I don't know. Raise your hand if you have more than 5 tools that you work on throughout the day. Um, Definitely, there are so many tools out there, and we want to make sure that we're using the tech to, I guess, enhance our efficiency and not necessarily overwhelm us. It can be easily overwhelming. I know with many of these AI tools, it's so great, but every single day we are coming up with something new that the tools are able to do. And many a times people are wanting to implement them really quickly. So it's great when technology can boost our productivity, make us more efficient, but it's not when it ends up causing a lot of churn and burn, and people are trying to figure out how to get things into the tool and how to get things out of the tool. When those things happen, we want to make sure that we are definitely taking a look at it so that it doesn't cause overwhelm with our teams and overwhelm with ourselves. So when it comes to technology, make sure that you have the training that you need in order to use it. Again, give great feedback to leaders if things are not working. That way you can perhaps get things adjusted so that you can get to a point where tech is working for you. There is this new trend that people are now starting to become burnout with technology. I never thought I'd see today, but it's here. The AI is just sometimes it's great tools, really great tools, but the more we can be efficient, then the more we're going to be asked to be efficient. And then it just sometimes causes this churn of us just continuing to do way too much. So making sure that we are definitely putting some boundaries around tech is crucial. All right. So how have you felt that? Have you felt some of that AI churn that is going on, trying to figure out how it can work and all those things? How are you doing adjusting with that? I'm really curious about this one. Definitely would love to know about that. Uh, so we're coming up in towards the end of our time. So again, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat. I want to be able to answer any questions that you might have as best as I can. I don't know everything, but I can attempt to give some kind of guidance to be able to help you move forward in a more positive and uplifting way in your work. So definitely put that in the chat or put that as a comment. I would love to read it. But one thing that we also want to make sure that we talk about is really right now how crucial it is networking. Networking is certainly crucial, especially because how the job market is right now with not only our industry but everywhere. It is crazy. I don't know if you've seen that. I think just the other day, Amazon announced that we were going to be laying off another 14,000. Somewhere else, I heard that there were a couple other, I think Paramount, a couple of other businesses were just laying off. And a lot of that has to do with restructuring. Some of it does have to do with AI and technology improvements and efficiencies. And most of it is just restructuring business in order to align with where the world is going right now. So it's a real and true thing. And much of this is also coming down to the event space as well, especially as some are adapting with AI, and then also as some are, let's say, supporting other businesses that are out there with their meetings and events. Obviously, there's a trickle down effect with that. It's become increasingly clear that AI is really, I guess, infiltrating. I don't know if that's a good word to use, but it is being used in the HR area in regards to reviewing resumes, even in regards to you having interviews as well. Like some people have AI interview you, and in order to get to that, the same next position, you have to have this interview with the technology, and then that then moves you on to the next, I guess, round of interviews type thing. So with relational boundaries, it's important to network and network with intention, right? We're not networking with like any and everyone. It's important now, especially if your career is really in your mind's eye because you're focused on it. Maybe you're out there and you're one of the planners that are out there really trying to get something and nothing is coming your way. I would say choose relationships that are going to align with your growth goals. Make sure you're really utilizing some of those search tools that are out there in order to connect with people, make meaningful connections, going to the right events, talking to the right people so that you can, let's say, land whatever position that you're looking to get purely because you have a really great, warm network of people that you're connecting with. If you're a person that is certainly, let's say, out of a job right now and looking, I would just definitely put some meetings on your calendar with people that you haven't talked with in a long time that are perhaps in LinkedIn, that you know that have been active in LinkedIn, so that you are able to continue to have those relationships, at the top of their minds, at the top of your mind, so that if they can do anything for you. What it could be recommending you, it could be anything that you would need them for, you can connect with them and you would be at the top of their mind because you've had conversations with them. So boundaries around just who you're networking with intention. The intention part of that is the boundary, right? We need to be very, very careful with our time. We don't have a lot of it. So the people that we interact with, we want to make sure that it's very intentional. So I would say that as well. And then I would just say when you're modeling, or if let's say you're a leader, there's this boundary around just being a great role model, making sure that they also know how to put boundaries in place and mentor them on healthy habits, right? Because the only way that we're going to change, let's say, the industry and allow, let's say, us to be able to have an industry where we aren't having a lot of that churn and things like that, is because maybe some of these boundaries and some setting healthy habits and having healthy limits on the work that we do, that only comes by us showcasing to others how it's done. So definitely have some boundaries around that as well. All right, so we're coming down on kind of our last section, which I talked about was boundaries with personal energy. I want to know, what is the one thing that you're going to do after us talking today? What is the one thing that you're going to do in order to move a boundary in a positive direction? So, what boundary are you going to set, and when are you going to implement it? And I would just say also, who are you going to tell? Because if we have a boundary and we don't tell anyone, let's say, about that boundary, and it doesn't have to be sent an email out to everybody that you have this boundary, but it's like clarifying with people that, oh, I don't have any meetings before 8 a.m. Anything after 8 a.m. is great. Or I usually don't take any calls and after 5 p.m., whatever it is. It could be totally different for you. Communicating that to the people that it impacts will be much helpful in them, let's say, respecting your boundaries as you're moving forward. So put that in a comment. Let me know what boundary you're going to change, who you're going to talk to, and how do you see that being helpful for you as you move forward in your work. I definitely would love to know. All right, so finally, let's talk about personal energy boundaries. We need to manage our energy. There's so much going on right now, right? There's so much going on. We talked about tech, but really the devices, your cell phones, those, oh my goodness, those little things, we need to put a little bit more boundaries around our cell phones. How many of you have just been, you're at home finally, and all you can do in order to just separate from work is just get on your device, and then you do what? You scroll, you scroll, you scroll. That is not helping you, my friend. There's so many other things that can. It may feel as though it does, obviously, because it gives you those, dopamine hits, right? But there's other things that you can do in order to do that. You can go for a walk. You can spend time with friends. You go out to dinner with someone, and you go to a comedy show. I don't know. There's so many other things that you can do besides being on your device. And there's been so many studies that link your device to things that really aren't helpful, especially with draining your energy, and you're always feeling like you cannot, always feel like you just don't have energy. So put some device downtime, put some limits around when people text you. I've noticed increasingly that people are definitely starting to use the notifications within their phones and kind of silencing certain text threads. I don't know if you're anything like me. I have a lot of groups that I'm a part of, and sometimes for some reason they all want to get on a text thread because it's better for connecting with people versus like any other social media platform. But it can be like 20 people in a text, and then when they get going, it's texting, texting, texting. A lot of that just takes your attention away from what you currently are doing. So if there comes a time where you want to just say, I am done, definitely put that boundary on your phone. Go to the text thread and just basically turn off the notifications for the thread. You can also do things like, I know on iPhone, you can put down, there's I think it's screen time is what it's called. And you can go in there and put in hours on when you're going to be available or not on your phone. So essentially, at about whenever you need, let's say at 9 p.m., you want everything to be shut down. Your phone would just basically say you can't go into your apps, and your phone is all done for the day. Obviously, if you need to do some emergency situation, you are able to, finagle around and get that completed. But the idea is that you have that downtime you need. Your phone's not going off in the middle of the night because somebody wanted to text, things like that. So all those things drain your energy, and we want to protect our energy as much as possible. Um, and then I would say set up micro rest rituals as a boundary, small mental resets. So this is can be during event execution. We talked about doing some of those deep breaths, doing maybe some box breathing, taking short walks as you're doing your work, and maybe even when you're on site, just do that. Just say, hey, I'll be gone for 5 minutes. I'll be right back, and go and take a short walk and take some deep breaths and then come back. That helps you to sustain your energy. It helps you to enhance your performance, especially if you have a lot of pressure that's going on for an event. Just take these little micro rests will be able to help you when you're on site. Take them, absolutely take them. Um, and then making sure that we're managing the scope on managing when, let's say, our clients or anyone just says, hey, can you do this one more thing? Right? You already have a full load, but they want to just put the cherry right on top, or they want to be the straw that kind of like breaks it all. Okay. Just make sure that you are definitely managing that. And, it's kind of one of those scope. People call it scope creep when they're talking about contracts, but it's a spiral that can tend to happen because people keep adding and keep adding and keep adding. So making sure that we're putting some boundaries around that. If we're all done with that, then definitely be all done, or really like lean in and just say, okay, again, this is how it's going to impact your contract. This is how it's going to impact the timeline. If we add these 100 people, this is how it's going to impact these things. And this is the time it's going to take. So just so that you know, and keep having those conversations. Those are intelligent conversations that leaders have, and it makes them really respect you for bringing up some of these objections, so that you're able to have a really wonderful sound meeting that you had planned for client. So that's all I had. Uh, those are the personal energy boundaries. Let me know, obviously, if this was helpful, if any of the information presented today was helpful to you. I definitely want to know that. I'm going to be putting on a workshop here shortly, so I definitely want you to just stay tuned for that. It's been great. Thank you for making this first time back live for a while. Amazing. And for those in the future, I definitely want to make sure that you had a good time too. So I want to hear from you too. So put that in the comments. But thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, as always, stay on purpose.